Let's see. Do you have kids? I don't think I've ever asked. Do you have kids? No kids. Okay. I might have asked them for
Never was allowed to reproduce. Some things should not be.
That was not good.
Now, if I did have kids, they'd disown my ass anyway. So,
Well, when Mother's Day comes around, my wife and I don't have kids either. So I always get my wife something because she's got all the animals. Those are her kids.
Right.
So, like, I was thinking Father's Day, usually Amy gets me something because I take care of all the animals too, but no.
We just don't do it.
We just don't do it. All right.
Yep.
You got a brother, though, right?
I got two brothers.
Two brothers, older or younger?
One older, one younger.
So you're the middle kid.
Yes, the older one thinks he should never have to work and everybody owes him everything and he's a victim and all that kind of shit.
And the youngest one?
He works.
Oh, good.
He likes enjoying life a lot, but, he works.
Yeah. So he's a tree trimmer. He's a tree trimmer.
The younger one?
Yeah.
He's a school teacher.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Well, all right then.
What grade does he teach?
He teaches earth science at Independence High School.
I know, but what grade is? Oh, high school? All
High
grades?
School. All grades, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, did you have something to open up the show or no?
I don't really. Go ahead.
All right, so
I was trying to think, and the thinking wasn't working.
All right, well, we'll do something. Here we go. You ready?
Yep. I could talk about the heat.
And now for something special. The unit is self-contained with its own saddler, farrier, wheelwright, and so on. It's a rigorous training dished out who know all there is to know about horses, and it brings results.
We take you behind the scenes now to show just some of the interesting aspects of this training.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, the award-winning #1 podcast, great sounder horses from the ground up. Mike Stine is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF1 accreditation. On this week's show, continue a conversation about canker. This is the time of year when you want to look for it. Also, we're going to talk about the importance of catching canker, and we have two case studies, Skippy and Daffy, that actually have canker that Mike worked on here in the last couple days or so. And if you're not on YouTube right now, make sure you go over right now and you can see this podcast in real life as we're here in the studio. And don't forget, for every podcast we do, we have a matching video, and you can see all these pictures of the cankers and the horses and stuff that Mike's been working on here over the last 7 days or so. And over to my far hand side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you?
I'm not good. Well, I'm good now.
You're not good.
I was.
Well, yeah, we knew that.
I was not good there for a little bit. So my dad, who lives with us now, and
right.
we have our property here, and we have two horses. We have Dominique and Cayenne, and then we have chickens and all the fowl and everything that runs on the property.
I think somebody laid an egg this morning when I was coming in.
I'm sure you probably heard that. My dad came up to me on a Wednesday morning and said, we don't have any water pressure. And I said, either, so I'm troubleshooting in my mind. Circuit breaker broke or tripped.
Right.
There's a leak somewhere and the pump just can't keep up with the pressure tank.
Right.
Or there's no power or something. A wire's gotten loose down at the pump house. Now we have a well. And so I went around, checked all the circuit breakers. Everything's fine. Throwing them once again, over and over and over. Nope, everything's fine. Walked around the property. The one well that we have feeds the barn and feeds the main house.
Right.
No water leaks. Nothing's running. Dad, you didn't leave anything on in the house. No, I didn't leave anything on.
You sure?
He has before. He leaves.
Right.
He leaves the kitchen sink on now and then. He forgets about it. I'm like, Dad, you're going to burn up the pump one day, leaving this on, for hours at a time. So I go down to the pump house, and I've got that one of those electrical pens where when you put it close to a wire, it beeps, beep, 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 meaning, you got a hot wire there. So I'm tapping around, and I'm going from the outlet.
You don't just use your fingers?
I used to. Well, I did it once, and then I was like, no, maybe I could get something better.
Oh, come on, live a little.
Yeah, or die a little by doing it. So I take my little electric pen, and I touch the outlet. I've got power. I touch the cord. Beep, got power. I touch the pressure switch. Beep, beep, beep. It's not 100%, but I'll go with it. I touch the cord coming out of the pump. Beep, 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 beep. It's on and off. All right, babe. Bite the bullet. Call the water pump people. They came out within an hour. They're great people over there.
Right.
And pulled the pump out. Yes, the pump was burnt out. Took about 2 hours to replace it, put it back in. Now, in the process of putting this in, he had to shut off all the valves to the house and to the barn. And pull the pump out. He replaced the pump. 300. I now know it's a 300-foot deep pump.
Wow.
Yeah, that
is a good.
Yeah, we ran that black hose down the driveway 4 or 5 times. So we drop it all back in there. Fire it up. He opens up the house again. He goes, go check all the pressure in the house. Okay, no problem. Go turn everything on. We're good, man. Appreciate it. All right, see you. Thank you. See you later. I'll put the pump pass back together because we had to pull some boards off. Thursday goes by. Friday goes by. Still great pressure in the house and everything. My wife, we walk down to the barn to feed in the morning, and Friday morning we go down to feed, and she looks at the water trough. Now, the water trough that we have is a 55-gallon drum cut in half.
Right.
It's got an automatic waterer on it.
Right.
It is empty. Completely bone dry, empty.
That's not good.
I go, oh, man. My wife's freaking out. How long have they been out of water? She's like, there's no water down at the barn. There's no, and she's turning on, we have a shower down there, turning on the shower. She's turning on everything. All the stalls, everything. No water down at the barn.
Right.
Well, I don't know if you remember what I said. When the guy came out, he turned off the house and the barn.
He did not turn the barn back on.
He did not turn the barn back on. So I went over there and sure enough, it's just a ball valve?
Yeah.
Turned it back on, 1.5-inch ball valve, turned it on. Water started shooting. So now my wife's freaking out because she doesn't know how long with this horrible heat that we've been having.
Right.
If these horses are going to colic.
Right.
So, she's bringing them in. She's watching them. She stood down there for like 4 or 5 hours, made sure they drank water, make sure they had a little bit to eat.
So then you're not allowed to drink any water for a few days. So you see how it is, right?
Right. So what should you do if something like that happens, Mike? In your opinion, being, around horses more than I am, when you get to that point, is there some kind of like order of progress? Okay, the horse hasn't had water in a day or two. It's accidental, totally accidental.
Right.
What she was doing, does that sound right to you as far as she gave him water, she gave him a little bit of food to make sure that process gets going again, the whole...
Right.
So that's what happened, so...
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard that in that kind of situation, if horses way dehydrated, of course, when they're too hot, sometimes you don't want them to drink water so much.
Right.
They always say. If they're really dehydrated and they just go gulp water and load themselves up, can they make themselves sick doing that? Maybe. I don't know. That is a good question. It's a good veterinary question.
Yeah. So next time we can get Frank Frank Riley on here, maybe I can give him a holler.
Yeah.
And talk about that. And we're going to continue our conversation about Canker and stuff on this week's show and what Mike has found out here in the last couple of weeks. He's been working on a horse. So if you have any questions for Mike, or if you want to answer the question that I have, what are the steps that you should take? You can get those questions over to equinedynamics.com. And at the top of the page says contact us, fill out that little form there, and put your answer right in there. We'll read it here on the air, and also we'll send you out a little prize pack. Put a physical address, and we'll mail you out something for being part of the show. All right, guys, big show to get into, lots to talk about, so stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back.
Yep.
Yeah, and Amy, she panic mode. She just thinks like they drank all that water in one day, and then, they've been out of water for the next 2 days, so.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. They may have been okay depending on how long it's been.
Yeah.
It's not good not having water.
It is not good.
Especially when it's 1,000 degrees out.
And this was last week, so
yeah.
they're okay so far. I say okay.
They're upright.
They are upright. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, brought to you by Equine One. With you got the thing. There you go, Mike. You found the camera too.
I did.
Put your face right in between them.
You move it every time.
I do. With Equine One's natural hoof mender putty and unison with the natural hoof dressing, you can use this year-round, 100% natural, no petroleum added. Get yours right now. Go to equine.one for 10% off. Put in a keyword podcast and get 10% off your order right now. That's equine.one, natural hoof dressing. Thank you, Mike.
Right.
So now we're going to talk terminology. We had Frank Riley on the show a couple weeks ago.
We did.
And he was going into this whole canker, and this is the time of year where you start looking for canker. So we're going to do again, we're going to start talking terminology. And if you're not sure what actual canker is, this is the part of the show where we kind of give you a brief, like a vocabulary word for you to learn for the week. So this week is canker. And so, Mike, tell us in your expertise, what is canker and what does it look like? And when you see it and what causes it?
It's just an out of control mess if you let it go. Early on, it doesn't have to be a big deal, but it is kind of like a wart. It's kind of an overgrowth of hoof material. And it can become very vascular, so it can bleed a lot. And you need to treat it early on, and you need to get your vet involved. Bad living conditions seem to contribute. Wet living conditions seem to contribute. As Frank was talking about, if you go back and listen to what Frank had said about it, some of the ideas is what some of the causes have changed. But at one point, no other horse can catch it, but I've had multiple horses in the same environment end up with it. So
the definition that I have here, canker is an infection that invades the surface of the tissue or the hoof of the hoof and causes overgrowths, beginning in the frog and extending to the sole and the hoof wall. Cases range from mild to severe. Now, the question I have for you is, being that I'm from Florida,
You're from Florida.
We had a huge citrus canker scare, where they had to chop down hundreds and hundreds of trees, and orange juice prices went through the roof. And the canker that's in the citrus is a bacteria.
Right.
Is canker in the horse almost a bacteria, or is that a similar thing? I mean, you think using the word canker would be just a one-term definition. Canker refers to anything that does this, does X. You know what I mean?
Kind of. I think that's where we are with it. I think there are some bacteria, there's some funguses involved. It's just a kind of like proud flesh in a way, almost growing out the bottom of the foot as far as what started it. And there's some, as Frank was talking about, viruses that they're looking at. So I don't think anybody has come up with a dead set one thing that causes it.
Well, we were talking about the young lady over in the UK. She said that she had to take her horse off the property because the bacteria was in her soil.
Right.
But there's no way to really know what's in your soil or how to treat it.
I think at this point, like with white line, they're like, disinfect everything. When the white line started spreading, was causing the white line. And I think at this point, it's pretty much traveling on tools, traveling on horses being moved and all that. Everywhere horses are is probably in the dirt to some degree.
So if a horse had canker and brought it onto another facility, would that canker spread? Is it a communicable disease, or it's one of those rare things like you get cancer, but you can't transfer cancer onto someone else?
Environment has a lot to do with it. If they're in just a nasty, dirty environment, I've had horses that own more than one property that say it doesn't, but I've had horses on one property where there was a lot of mud, a lot of nasty, overgrazed, too many horses in the area, where multiple horses had come up with it. So there you go.
Is this a career-ending?
Doesn't have to be a big deal.
If you catch it early enough.
If you catch it early and take care of it, doesn't have to be a big deal.
I know later in the show we've got some pictures of a horse, Skippy, that has canker, and you said the pictures that we were looking through before the show, you were like going, and this is when they decided to start treating it.
Right, yeah. And what they're treating with has changed. Years ago, it was gut everything out, take a piece of hot steel to it, pack it with copper sulfate, which all pretty rude, nasty stuff, you know what I mean? But did we get rid of it? Yeah. We were rough on the foot, yeah. But, early on, you don't even necessarily have to do a huge amount. We've used, freezing it. We've burned it. We've packed it with Lord knows what. The tetracycline, doing some internal medications.
What gave you the best results?
Not getting it.
And there's no way for you to prevent it because there's no way to outside of having your horse service now. I mean, now and then.
Well, the second horse that we worked on, what ended up working on it. Because
Daffy is the other one.
Daffy Duck,
Yep.
yeah. What was working at one point was, oh Lord, what were they mixing? Oxytin and antibiotic. And that ended up at a point kind of just ceasing to work. And then went to tetracycline powder and hydrogen peroxide. And that worked well on this horse. But there's a lot of different treatments out there that have been used. And with any kind of hoof problem, getting on to early prevention is the best thing.
All right, we're going to take a quick little break, and then we're going to talk about the best ways to catch it early and the difference between Canker and Thrush. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. You okay?
Yes.
I was told to say yes.
I was told to say yes. I said yes.
You ready?
Right.
Don't forget your stuff there.
I'll not forget my stuff.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, brought to you by Equine One's all-natural hoof mender putty and natural hoof dressing. Get 10% off your full order right now. Go to equine.one, put in the keyword podcast or Equine Dynamics. Both will work very well and get you 10% off your entire order. That's equine.one. Get your natural hoof mender putty and also hoof dressing. Thank you, Mike.
Right. You know, talking about that.
Sure.
I know that I've used this on really thrushy feet.
Okay.
And it has worked well.
So what is the difference? Because we're talking
Canker,
about. Hold on.
I don't know.
Let me set you up here. So we were talking about Canker, and now you're talking about the Equine One hoof mender putty works well on Thrush. So tell me the difference. What's the difference physically? What it looks like and how you treat it. The difference between Canker and Thrush.
With Thrush, you are decaying and rotting out foot, and you're losing frog and all this. With Canker, everything kind of goes into just kind of an overdrive growth deal. And early on, I don't know. I don't have the experience with the Equine One, but that may work. Some of the Equine One people may have some information on that, might be worth looking up. But I can't say that it will or won't. But it does work well on Thrush. I mean, I've had very rotten feet that we've lost a lot of frog. And because of the situation that we were having to put something on the foot for multiple reasons, put the hoof mender putty around the frog before we put anything else in there, and pulled it off 5-6 weeks later, and everything's cleaned up and got a frog growing in.
And the best thing about the Equine One people is you can write to Katie, you can write to
Sure.
Mike Caldwell or Steve Caldwell, and send them an email, and they will answer you right away. They're really great people.
Right. Now, as far as the Canker, these guys have been involved with it a while. They might have some information on it that I do not have.
Or updated information that we haven't gotten yet.
Right.
So you can check them out over equine.one. So the main thing between Canker and Thrush, Mike, Thrush causes loss of the hoof tissue, while Canker causes an overgrowth of the issue. Now,
it's just out of control growing, yeah.
And then you said the best way right now is not to get it. I mean, of course.
It's not. It's like going down the road and getting in a car wreck. It'd be better if you didn't get in one, correct?
Now, is Thrush achieved the same way as far as is that communicable? Can that be passed on from horse to horse?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us live in an environment, and the good, clean environment for the horse. Horses were not supposed to stand in slop, and in some situations they end up standing in slop, and some of us time of the year. But just some regular maintenance would take care of a lot of this. There's horses where I've had these huge messes, their feet weren't maintained.
Now, my dad has melanoma on his arms and stuff from years of being out in the sun exposure. Right. I know this is not Canker, but what it is, they go in there and they cut out a little piece before it spreads.
Right.
Is that something when you look at a horse's foot and you see a little bit of Canker, you're like, oh, okay, let me address this now, and then can you get it out and stuff, and then I don't want to say it problem solved, but it's better to get it at an early stage. And I forget, was it Frank Riley talking about you shave it like a mushroom, like you shave it off, you don't want to get the root? I would think you want to dig that root out.
Well, part of the problem is, digging it out, how much destruction are you doing to the rest of the foot? If you can kill it, with medication without destroying the rest of the foot. There are cases you're going to have to go in deeper than others on some of these long-term horses. No way around it.
I would think like a skin tag, like a human would get a skin tag. And I incorporate everything with a horse to a human, because I don't know anything about horses. I'm like going through my own personal experience. I had a little wart on my arm right here and did the little whole freeze and picked it off, and it got the root.
It's a little bit like having a wart on your finger. You can use the wart remover, or we can just cut your finger off.
I don't want to do that because that's my best favorite finger.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, I guess treating the canker would not be the same way. You would think you would want to scoop it out and remove everything.
Well, you try to debride as much as you can, but you don't want to get into good tissue in the foot and
cause more problems.
You don't want to create any more damage than you've got to get rid of it. How's that sound?
That sounds great. So if a horse has canker, and let's see, I'm assuming the horse is not going to be a workable horse. Meaning, is that true? Or, I mean, if a horse has canker on its foot,
right?
I'm not going to jump on it and do my dressage lesson for the day.
Probably not for that moment. Maybe not, depending on how much is there. I mean, I've had places where I've been asked to get involved with it, and rare, and most of the time a farrier can deal with it pretty quick, where you had a little bloody spot. And we cleaned it up, and we treated the area. And then when you went back, there was like a little tiny...
Minuscule,
the size of a pea that just kind of popped out and left a hole there. And in that case, did we really dig into the foot hard? No. We took the surface off and we treated it.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody saw a spot. Oh, my God, when I hit that with a hoof pick, every time I hit that, it starts bleeding. It's just in this little tiny spot. So we were in there where it was a little tiny thing and... took care of it, no problem.
Packed it,
wrapped it, and medicated the area. And when I went back to address it, the canker area was kind of dried up. And when I went through there with, maintaining and dressing up the frog, the little bead of it just popped out, and that was it. And that's been happened more than one time. But you did not wait till it was a massive mess.
Right. All right, we're going to take a quick little break. And if you're not on the YouTube channel, now's a great chance to go over.
Yeah, if you wait till a splinter in your toe becomes a brain tumor, we got a problem, right?
I think that's how Bob Marley died. So if you're not over on YouTube right now, now's a chance for you to go over there right now, because Mike has got a whole bunch of pictures of Skippy and Daffy, two problem areas where two different horses where they had cankers. Now, some of the pictures are a little graphic, so if you've got a weak stomach, make sure you bring the kids around to help you through it, okay?
Right.
So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Silly.
Yes.
Still got that ick. It's breaking up now, so you don't care.
It's not my problem. I'm going to be gone here in a little bit.
You're the one who's got to deal with it.
That's right.
All right, you ready?
Yes, I am.
We're going to start off with this one, I believe. Yep.
Okay, there you go.
Ready?
Yes, I am.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, brought to you by Natural Hoof Mender Dressing from Equine. I messed that all up. From Equine One. All natural hoof dressing and also all natural hoof mender putty. You use these in tandems year round. You can do it in wet. You can do it in dry, sleet, summer, snow, or fall. I guess is that
right? If you got thrush problems, just clean out the dead material and paint a little Equine on there, and it'll take care of it.
And get 10% off your order. They'll take care of you by going to equine.one, put in podcast or Equine Dynamics for 10% off your whole entire order. Now, we have some photos, so go over to YouTube right now, and you can see this in real time as we're talking about here. Not that picture, but we're going to do this picture right here. Now, this is Skippy. Now, Skippy
is not skipping. Skippy is on vacation right there.
So what this looks like to me, I'm going to describe it to the people not watching or on the YouTube channel. Well, if you're not, shame on you. You should go over right now and do that.
Right.
But this horse, first of all, it looks like it's laying down.
It is at the moment, yes.
And this looks like an old tree stump.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
Nothing on this picture right here looks like a horse's foot other than the big hairy leg attached to it.
Well, you can make out the back of the frog, right?
Yeah, right about in here somewhere, right?
Right. And, this is one of those deals you get a call. We trimmed our horse regular. We trimmed it 5 years ago.
Right.
I mean, seriously,
when you see people and they say something like that, do you look at those people and go, "What are you thinking?"
Well, I mean, I had someone approach me not terribly long ago and was talking to me that, they get their horses done every few months. And they hadn't been able to get a hold of their farrier. And asked who it was, and they told me. And I was like, "You didn't get it done a couple months ago?" "Oh, yes, he was at the house." Well, this fella had some health problems, and he passed on. So when I was
the horse or the farrier?
The farrier.
Okay.
The farrier. Good guy. Great guy. He just had some older age issues. And so I went down to the farrier shop and I was talking to Randy. I said, I know that, when was that? And I was a little wrong on the dates. I was thinking it's about 4 years ago. He said about 4.5 years ago, he passed on. And then I explained to him this. I was told that he had done the horse 2 months before.
Oh, Jesus. So everyone's delusional.
Right, yeah. So I don't know when those horses' feet were done. And the same thing with this. This horse has had regular hoof maintenance. And this was actually sent to a friend of mine. I mean, the bars are way overgrown, folded forward. And, the foot's not looking anything like a foot should look. We're correct?
Yeah, like I said, it looks like an old tree stump.
It looks like it's got a rock crammed in there, too. Go back.
Oh, let me see.
Okay, is that a rock or
right here
in there? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like
looks like a piece of rock.
Piece of gravel that he's been walking on.
Yeah.
And the hoof just grew right around it.
Right. He's kind of lame on those feet,
I'm sure.
Okay. And
this is rockless.
That's rockless, but that's another view of. I mean, he's got something going on all 4 feet. And even up to the coronary band. See that? All that mess at the coronary band?
I see a fly sitting on it.
Right, the fly sitting on it.
There's a couple flies on it.
Something has probably blown out there. And, there's kind of holes and cavities going up in the foot. And at this point, it's time we need to call in professionals because we need something done to this horse's feet. Okay? And so what are we thinking? Somebody had trimmed on a little bit around the edges, is rounded up.
So I'm looking at that. I'm amazed by the. Go ahead.
But from the looks of everything, how regular was that done, and how much of a mess have we got here? Right.
Right. I'm looking at these flies right here, and these aren't house flies. These are flies that are around dead tissue, dead blood, dead things like
right.
that fly right there. That's one of those death flies that hang around stuff that's any.
When you sit outside too long, do you get those?
No, my dad does.
I'm just wondering. I don't know. Sometimes you don't move real fast. I mean, I worry when the buzzers start circling. I guess I'll start moving.
Normal house fly would be just a black fly. My cat, I call them sky raisins. But these are those luminescent green and blue
around
ones.
the farm, you have a lot of different types of flies hanging out, right?
Yeah, but these flies right here, I notice a lot of times when it's around a dead tissue or dead animals.
Well, I mean, there's a blowout there. You probably had some pus, some rot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That sort of deal, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a healthy foot. Okay.
Here's another picture. Looks like the bottom of a tree stump. Jesus.
Bottom of a tree stump.
This is horrible.
When was this foot maintained? And even the back of the heel of the foot, nothing's defined, and everything is kind of wild and out of control. And this somebody has had a hold of the outer perimeter a little bit with rasp and nippers in the last little while, but this was not maintained on a regular basis, not to the point it should have been.
You think the owner of the horse probably got out there with the nippers and the rasp?
Yes, anything's possible.
Yeah.
But you see the big, beside whatever deformed, whatever that is, there's a crater in the foot.
Yeah, a big, huge crater.
So how much dead tissue do we have there? How much bad tissue do we have there?
I'd be afraid to poke at it.
Okay.
So this horse is. How'd you get the horse to lay down? I'm sure he wanted to lay down with it as bad as his feet were.
Well, yeah, I don't know what was done there. I think that they had the vet out you know, and the horse probably couldn't stand up, and maybe the vet gently asked the horse to lay down so they could take a look at things, right?
Right. So this is another, this is another foot. Looks like the rear foot, and this is it looks like an old tree stump. It's that bad. It's that overgrown. How long do you think this right here has been going on? Just to give me an idea.
Quite a while.
Like years.
Probably years, yeah.
Oh, that poor horse. And, you know, when you see that, Mike, and I'll say it again.
And this is a guess.
Yeah, I mean, but when you see that, do you look at the owners of the horse and you go, yep, you know, you can tell whether they're horse people or whether they just have this thing as a pet type deal. Like they're not serious into horse care. They're just like going,
you know, a lot of strange things happen. You know, there was someone I spoke with over a horse, and this reason I was involved was it did have some problems. And when we started getting things settled down, they want to know, when can we just have our horse done like normal, get it done twice a year?
No, not twice a year.
And I'm like, yeah, that's not a good deal. So I think, as far as I know at this point, that may be what they're doing.
So when you see a horse and you come across a horse like Skippy here, do you have an obligation, a moral obligation to call the federales and get them involved? Because this technically, if this was a dog chained to a tree with a 2-foot chain that weighs 40 pounds, someone would call on those people that have that dog. Can you or does someone, or is there something in place where you can call people when your horse's feet look this bad and I don't want to say turn them in, but have someone say, okay, we're going to take this horse away from you because obviously you don't have the mentality to take and care for this animal?
Well, you know, a lot of places, depending on who comes out, if the horse has decent weight on it, they're probably not going to get involved real easy.
Really?
No. I mean, here in North Carolina, I've been called in on cases where somebody had called in animal control as well. Basically, the horse is eating and needs some maintenance on its feet and all that sort of deal. And I actually, at one point, served as a professional witness on a horse that was laminitic that someone had called animal control on, and in defense of the horse. And the Humane Society, they called the Humane Society, so this fella had health issues, and it was his last old horse. The Humane Society looked at the situation, said, I got a call, a vet got a call, says, can y'all come and get involved in this? We're kind of taking over care of this horse for this fella. And there were some people trying to push him off his property because they wanted to put condos on it.
Oh.
And
so they're putting the screws, pardon the pun, putting the screws to him.
Some of the township that he'd been taken into over the years got involved. We're taking him to court. And the whole thing got pitched out, but I ended up, myself and the veterinarian involved ended up being professional witnesses. So, in defense of the horse and was,
I heard
care of the horse, right?
I heard being a professional witness pays pretty good too. So
they paid me no attention if that's what you're talking about.
So here's one more photo over on YouTube. You can see this in real time. And again, this looks like an old tree stump that Skippy's been dealing with for the last. Now, where is Skippy right now? Do you know?
I don't know what happened with this case. The friend of mine who was asked to work on it, they moved in another direction. He was giving me a what do you think? And I've had calls like this. I don't know what road they decided to go down.
Now, is this recoverable? Like, when I look at this, is this completely recoverable? And he might not be a show horse. He might not be a champion pony of any sort.
If it is, it would be very long term and a lot of maintenance for a long time.
And a lot of money.
Yes.
A lot of money.
Right.
On a $500 horse.
Right.
All right. So here's, now brace yourself. This one gets a little more graphic here. This is Daffy. Now, Daffy, this foot right here is covered in blood. So tell me what we're looking at here. This is good. This is good for the horse though, right?
Right. Well, this is a horse that had some canker, and we went in debriding the area with a vet tech, and everybody involved. Because of not being able to transport the horse, it was done out in front of the barn on the ground. And you look up into the bulb of the hills back there, that's kind of not healthy looking. And there was some stuff coming out the coronary band. And, it was treated internally and externally.
I don't see any death flies around it though. So.
No. But you look right there where that opening is. That's almost fibrous looking stuff in the hole, right there.
Yeah,
right there. And we were trying to remove as little as possible. A lot of sharp knives and tools, and this horse had been being trimmed to some degree. The bars are kind of overgrown, but you got to split back into the heel. But we started in this area, and it had a canker in all 4 feet. The 1 foot was the worst. All the rest of them, there wasn't much there, so it was not near as far along as the first horse. Now, the thing of it, the problem is, apparently, by the time we got involved, this had been going on for about 4 years.
Jesus, people.
And the first call I got was talking about treating the canker area. I don't have any problem with natural remedies, don't get me wrong. But they've been treating it with tea tree oil, and occasionally they would put a little lemon juice in there to kind of erode the canker out, was what was planned. And it was spread. And actually, once you got into this foot, it was up under the sole, up under the wall. And what we ended up doing is taking one section out and cleaning it up. And we worked our way around the foot on the bad foot. The other feet, we just removed and treated, and it was pretty
good
much
to
a
go.
done deal.
Yeah.
Right. But on the bad foot, we'd go in, and we'd remove an area.
And this is the second attempt.
Same foot. There were several attempts in there, but if you look where we have taken the wall back,
looks like a turtle shell
to that outside. See that area in the wall on the outside down towards the toe. There you go. See that we've got it. It's up under the sole. And so what we ended up doing was remove a little bit, treat an area, remove a little bit, treat an area, remove a little bit, treat an area, and we went all the way down the side of the foot. And by the time we were done, you'd kind of let one side start growing in, and we ended up going up under the bar on the opposite side. You see where that bar's got some separation in it? Back up to the outside. Away from the blood side.
Right here.
Right there.
Yeah.
Right in there. There's some separation behind that bar. Well, problem is, horse needed something to walk on, for one thing. And you see areas where we had debrided some, and it looks pretty good. And back in that bulb of that heel was kind of the worst area.
Now, would you put a shoe on this so he could, or do you pack it with a boot or something?
Well, what we did on this horse was our good old friend. Have you ever watched the Red Green Show?
No, but you told me about it.
Our friend duct tape. And once you got everything, granulated in, you kind of didn't want to keep it completely wet. But we needed a good environment, but we needed to pack it and treat it. So if you go to the next picture, we'd pick around. That's the same foot.
Wow.
And
what a difference.
And it's growing back in, and the yellow is tetracycline powder. And if you see on that side where we're removing wall, where that wall had pretty well been taken off the ground on the side towards the boot, towards the veterinarian's boot, right?
No death flies either.
No death flies. But it being packed with tetracycline is what we ended up with. And they were treating it with, internally also. And this is a horse where on this particular foot we ended up debriding stuff to the tune of 5 or 6 or 7 times. I'm not sure exactly, but you would debride and we'd pack and treat, debride and pack and treat. But you wanted to do a little area because this guy had to be able to stand on his feet. If we'd have taken everything we did at one time, he'd been 3-legged.
Yeah, hopping around.
Right. But through everything we did with when we had the wrapping and packing on there, he walked off. Even when you had that bloody heel, he got up and he walked off relatively decent looking.
What was Daffy's job?
I think Daffy's job, the dream was a dressage horse.
Oh.
And I don't think Daffy ever did much of anything except hang out. But we kept this horse through the whole process. He was up and he was walking, and he, as far as the paddock was clean and dry, he was going in and out every day. right?
So he was healthy. He was healthy enough to feed himself, walk himself, and clean himself. Yeah.
Sure. But you had to get rid of the damage. Now, from what I understand, this situation had started 4 years earlier.
It's always 4 years, Mike. Always 4 years.
It was yeah, and that's what I remember anyway. But you know how my memory works. Not too not too good, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised you show up here every Monday.
I am too. When I get here, I think it's been 4 years since I've been here.
It feels like it sometimes.
Right. But anyway, the area was cleaned up. And last I knew, the horse had packed up and gone south to Georgia, right? And as far as I know, the horse is doing okay.
So Daffy's running around being a duck.
Being a duck, yes.
All right, guys, stick around. When we come back, one more little segment. And what did we learn today? So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. You ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
My balls are not floating down.
I thought it was your back teeth.
Yeah, them too.
Back teeth. You ready? Here we go.
This has gone past the back teeth.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stein, brought to you by Equine One. With their 100% natural, no petroleum, protect, prevent, and maintain natural hoof mender putty and also natural hoof dressing. Mike uses this all the time while dealing with thrush. You can use it just as a regular maintenance in wet, dry.
It's been used on white line problems.
And you can use it wet, dry, summer heat, or wind, rain, or summer fall, or something like that.
Yes,
That's what I said before. And get 10% off your order right now. Go to equine.one. That's equine.one, and put in podcast or Equine Dynamics for 10% off your whole entire order. Now, Steve and Katie and all them over there at Equine One are working on new formulas,
right?
That they're dealing. They're constantly with their R&D department working, and they got chemists and everything working and getting new products out there. So make sure you like them over on Facebook as well. So check them out and check them out right now. Over to my far inside is Mike Stein.
Have a question.
How are you, Mike Stein?
If you're standing directly on top of the North Pole at the point of the North Pole,
1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
What time is it?
That's what I'm saying. You just walk around the top of the globe and go 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4, because you're in every time zone.
Right. Yeah. So how do you tell what time it is?
You don't. You have North Pole time.
It's cold enough. It doesn't matter anymore.
It's Christmas. It's always Christmas time in the North Pole, isn't it?
That's right.
There you go.
That is right.
And make sure if you have a question for Mike Stein, go over to equinedynamics.com, fill out that little form, says contact us, put a return address, and we'll send you out some free swag, some magnets, stickers, and all that stuff. And if you'd like us to perform this podcast or a clinic out at your location as well, you can find all that information over at the clinic section over on the equinedynamics.com page. And over to my far right side is Mike Stein. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis.
I'm doing all right, too. Thanks for asking, by the way. So what did we learn today, Mike? Canker. What is canker?
Canker is something you should take care of early. It is an overgrowth, nasty environments.
Turns hoofs into tree stumps.
And can be dealt with without a lot of trouble if you take care of things early and regular hoof maintenance.
Not twice a year.
Not twice a year.
Not once every 4 years.
Not once every 4 years. It shouldn't be a real problem. Horses that are maintained regular, you're not going to see a lot of this.
Canker is an infection that invades the surface tissue of a hoof and also causes overgrowth, beginning on the frog and extending to the sole of the hoof wall. Cases range anywhere from mild to severe and almost career ending. Now, what was I going to say?
If you destroy the hoof bad enough, yes.
I was going to say something. I totally forgot. Oh, well. And also, what's the importance of catching the canker earlier and the difference between canker and thrush?
Okay, yeah, thrush is riding out foot. You're losing hoof material. Can be easily treated. It can be easily treated.
And Mike's holding up the natural hoof dressing here.
Hoof dressing without a lot of chemicals, with no problem. And canker is a weird overgrowth. And they are.
Go ahead.
They are looking at other things that involved in canker that we have not thought about much in the past.
So is it safe to say that thrush eats away the material and canker double growths the material?
Basically, yes.
So one's like the opposite of the other.
If you're picking a foot and you got an area that gets bloody, you need to take a look because one thing, it could be rotting out. B, you could have a canker type growth, and sometimes those things bleed without much.
And then we had the case study. Hold on, switch screens here. And let me go back to the beginning of this film roll. And you could see this in real time over on YouTube as well. And this is 2 case studies that we had. This is Skippy at first, where it looks like a dead tree stump on the end of this horse's leg.
Right.
And quickly, what are we looking at? Here's your dead flies, your death flies.
Your flies. You've got a place where something's been oozing out the corner of your band. You'll get flies hanging around. I mean, it's one thing you walked up to the horse and you see something. I think he's got an abscess that's starting to break. If you watch for the flies, they'll tell you where it's getting ready to break.
Exactly. So there's another tree stump, and all 4 legs. As far as you know right now, Skippy, you don't know.
Don't know the outcome. Don't know what was done.
And then,
but that's a huge mess. Now this horse.
And this is Daffy.
Daffy took a lot of work. The 3 feet that had very minimal amount of work took very little work, and Daffy took a trailer ride down to
South Georgia
to hang out and do whatever. And as far as I know, Daffy is fine.
And that's another.
But there again,
that's amazing how far forward this
right.
crept into the hoof here.
If that had been taken care of early on, and I can't stress enough, call your vet. Call your vet. This is a situation where you need to get veterinary help involved.
Now, are there societies or programs put in place where people can't afford? I hate to say it. If you have a horse, if you can't afford a horse, you shouldn't have a horse type deal. Is there situations or programs out there that veterinarians have that will help you if you're in a situation where you've got a set income, you're living on your Social Security check, and you can't afford to have a vet come out? Are there programs set in place where they can call or find out that they can have like a community vet come out and service the animal or give them their opinions or anything like that? Do you know of any programs like that? I
do not know of any programs like that at all, really. I'm not saying there's not. I do not know of them. All of us, as professionals, veterinarians, farriers, and whoever else involved, have taken a look at a horse and given some discussion about a horse to try to help somebody out, but for the good of the horse and because you need to give back a little bit. This day and time with expenses of operating, there's only so much of that you can do.
Yeah,
but all of us have been an advice line. All of us have been a help. All of us have
donated a little bit.
Donated here and there in cases.
And it's not mandatory. This is out of the goodness of your heart.
Out of the goodness of our heart as professionals wanting to do better for a horse.
Right. All right, guys, on that note, make sure you follow us over on Facebook. You can see all the different articles that Mike posts up. That's Equine Dynamics Mike Stine over on Facebook. You can ask him a question at equinedynamics.com, and make sure you follow us over on YouTube as well. And subscribe over there, and you can get up to date on all the different podcasts and stuff that we do here, and you can see all the different videos and pictures that we have here. And we also have what we call little shorts over there. So if you can't ingest the whole entire podcast in one sitting, you can get all these little...
We can do little shorts.
We do little shorts over there. They're minute and a half long. You can enjoy, and they get right to the topic and stuff, and you can comment on those, and Mike or myself will respond. So go over there to YouTube and like and subscribe. On behalf of Mike Stine over there,
thank you, Travis. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day with your ponies.
My name is Travis, saying see you next week.
Hi, Lucky.
Good night, Ned.
Hi, Dusty.
Good night, Ned. Good night, Ned.
There you go.